Today we're going to talk about realism. By 1850, there was a belief that the world should be viewed realistically, and they rejected Romanticism. Literary realists wrote about the social issues of everyday people in a realistic way. Charles Dickens, one of the greatest writers of the Victorian era and a literary genius, focused on the lower and middle classes of the early Industrial Revolution. His books were called social novels. Oliver Twist and David Copperfield described the urban poor and the brutal life they lived with realism. The Tale of Two Cities, which is centered on the French Revolution, depicts the plight of the French peasantry. He also wrote A Christmas Carol, which discussed the plight of the lower class. I have a YouTube video here on the Tale of Two Cities that you can access and look at. Realism became dominant in art also. The French became the leaders in realist painting. Gustave Courbet was the most famous realist artist. Painted scenes of everyday life, factory workers, laborers. He said, "I have never seen either angels or goddesses, so I am not interested in painting them." One of his most famous paintings, The Stonebreakers in 1849, shows an old and young man breaking rocks. Unfortunately, during World War II, this painting was stolen by the Nazis, and while it was in Germany, it was on board a train in Dresden in 1945 when the Allies bombed the city very heavily, and the train, along with the painting, were destroyed. Courbet influenced young painters like Monet, Whistler, and Cézanne. All right, now we're going to talk about the new age of science. The Industrial Revolution increased interest in scientific research. Science began to have a greater impact on people. Louis Pasteur proposed the germ theory of disease, critical to the development of modern medical practices. Best known for his invention of the technique of treating milk and wine to stop bacterial contamination called pasteurization. Michael Faraday was an English scientist who contributed to the study of electromagnetism and electrochemistry. He built a primitive generator that led to the electric current. James Clerk Maxwell was a Scottish scientist who studied mathematical physics. His discoveries helped usher in the era of modern physics, considered to be of the same magnitude as those of Newton and Einstein. In fact, Albert Einstein kept pictures of Faraday, Newton, and Maxwell on his study wall. Russian Dmitry Mendeleev classified all material elements on the basis of their atomic weights. This would lead to the periodic table. As you quite imagine, Dmitry is one of Mr. Momura's heroes. The biggest impact on science and the world appeared in 1859. Charles Darwin publishes his book on the origin of species. It introduced the scientific theory of evolutionary biology. People evolve through natural selection. A process is referred to as the concept of survival of the fittest. Very controversial work. People felt Darwin reduced humans to creatures managing to survive instead of unique beings. It was condemned for denying God's role in creation. Science started to undermine people's faith in God. Truth was now found in science, and there was an increase in secularization, a lack of religious consideration. Well, that concludes our session for today. I do have 5 questions here. Where are they? There they are. If you could just answer those questions and send them through Google Classroom. Well, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a good rest of the day and a wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you on Monday.